What's up, everybody? Charlie here and Connor as well.
What
We
up?
at Code Central Podcast. This is episode 19, and we have special guest Pete McPherson. Sorry, Pete, in advance if I said your last name wrong. McPherson, Pete M. That
Pearson.
was
PM's a good one, Charlie. Let's stick with
yeah,
that.
yeah. He was a boss, man. The insight that dude shared. He sold two AI apps. He's built. I think he said over 100 projects, right?
Yeah, a lot. I think
A
my
lot.
big takeaway, a lot. That's like I can't even quantify how many. It was just a ton. And I mean, I think for anybody listening, the takeaway really is if you're interested in not only learning how to build or where to start, it's more so if you're building for acquisition, like this is the episode to listen to. That's what I
That
got out of this, really. Like at the end of the day.
That's the dude to listen to. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's done it twice, and yeah, shares great insight on that. So also on this is Coach's Corner. Connor, what are you going to be talking about today?
Yeah, so today I'm going to cover Google Ads and just kind of like basic setup when it comes to that. I know, last week we spoke about paid channels, which ones you should consider. And I think today's a great day to just kind of go through getting your Google Ads set up on your website and doing some initial campaign launches, based on your objective.
Got it. So under that umbrella of campaign launches or objectives, is it getting customers or is it just like turning the light switch on just for people to your website?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you could say a little bit of both. I think it's more so explaining to everybody why Google Ads matters, setting up the foundation in terms of just flipping that light switch on and getting it ready, and then what you need to do to build out your first campaign, which ultimately brings the customers or the people over to your website and has them take
Okay.
the action you're looking for, like sign up on a form, paying for a service, etc., things like that.
Gotcha. Okay. Before we jump into that, that's all coming up here. What's new in your life the past week or so?
Oh
What's going
man,
on?
dude, I don't know. It's like fall's here, which I love. I absolutely love the cooler weather. I know I've been talking
Yeah.
about that. I can't stress about the Mets anymore because they're out. They got booted out of the playoffs.
They're
Literally, yeah, they're done. It's
they
done though.
stink, huh? Oh no.
They're
That's
awful,
brutal.
man. It was brutal. So it was like the last day of the season, and it was like win and you're in. And all they had to do was win the game, and they just totally flopped. So
Oh,
very upsetting Sunday in terms of sports, but I didn't pay attention much. I didn't have a lot of faith in them. So instead, I went down to being so close to Manhattan. It's Tunnels to Towers. It's like, I don't know if you've heard of it or not. It's a foundation that's solely dedicated to basically, it's charity for people who were involved in 9/11, right? Whether it's firefighters or EMS
oh
or
wow.
just families of people who are related to the lives that were lost during 9/11. And every year, geez, they've been doing it for the last 10 years or so. They just do a 5K run and all the proceeds go to the charity. So it's this really big,
Cool.
cool event. It's just nice to go down to that area of Manhattan and check it out. It was a beautiful day. And
Cool.
then around that financial district, they just had a ton of stuff open for Oktoberfest. So, of course, treated myself to a few cold beers and kind of just enjoyed the nice weather and try not to lament on the Mets loss so much. That was
I was
kind of
gonna
what my
say,
weekend.
yeah, drown the sorrows of the Mets.
Yeah, just a little bit. Not too much, of course, being a Sunday, but overall not too bad, man. Everything else is kind of coasting. I am trying to. It's been a few weeks also of really just not being able to focus on app building, right? I know I told you about the one I was trying to build with Klaviyo
Yeah.
and automating emails that you just kind of fill out some places within a form. And I got it to this point where it was like 80% of the way done. And then I kind of got stuck somewhere and just never got back to it. And I think it was almost out of exasperation. And I'm sure you've been there. No, you've been there just from our conversations outside of this. And I'm finally ready to kind of hop back into it, see if I can complete this. And I honestly think the conversation with Pete was a little inspiring. Just say, listen, you don't got to take chunks of hours out of your day to go do it. Like if you want to take 30 minutes or an hour and just kind of hammer away at it here and there and eventually finish it up, it's better to finish it than to just have it sit there, which that's
Yeah.
what it's been doing. So I'm finally ready to kind of get back into that with a little bit more free time on my hands and hopefully have something that we can either show here or at least just kind of roll out and see what happens with it.
How are you building that?
So that's all mostly through Make right
Okay.
now. So it's kind of like, the no code AI app that I'm using. It's through Make. I'm doing a little bit with Airtable. And then when it comes to like the actual content creation, right? Because you can just put the way I have it set up, and we'll go through this probably a little bit more in depth if I actually have it built out. But the way you go about it is you fill out a form, right? And you say, okay, I have a form where I want an email to go out to this selected audience, right? The drop down menu with all of your audiences that you have in your Klaviyo account. And then you say, I want it to go out on this day at this time. Here are the images that I'd like to use. and then here's a prompt for the content that I would like to produce. So I have it hooked up with really just ChatGPT right now to help produce some of the content, but I am looking at some other options as well, whether that's Claude because the Sonnet upgrade just occurred. So that might be a good route to go, or some other avenue, because the content creation is a little subpar in my opinion. It does the basics, but it's not as robust as I'd like it to be. So it's honestly really, really simple right now. It's nothing too robust or advanced, but I think that's where the roadblock is. And I might have to get into something like N8N, which I don't know if you've used that yet. I know we spoke about that briefly.
Yeah.
It's way more advanced and complicated than some of the stuff I've been using initially. So I think N8N is kind of that next step to just be a bit more patient with it, understand exactly what I need to do in order to get it to work, and move past the point where I basically can't get the emails to fully publish and deploy out to the audience, where somebody still has to go in, make some minor edits and brush ups before scheduling the campaign out right now. So I want to make it fully automated where you just fill out the form, select the date, select the time, builds the content, sends you over a test email for a preview. And then once you're happy with it, you just click the button that says approve on the form and your email's done and scheduled without you even having to go into Klaviyo and build it yourself.
Gotcha. Okay. Hey, I think too, like once you get done with that, you'll learn like so much. Like your first app and then your second one, you're like light years ahead of your first one. It's like, oh, I don't like that tool. I'll just use this platform instead. Or here's an API for this instead. Kind of do everything like manual.
I think it's like the iteration of it and just trying to see what works well with what. And that's kind of where I got stuck. And again, I think anyone listening can, understands that and feels that pain point. And sometimes it's just like, I don't know what to do here. I need to step away for a week or two. In this case, for me, it was almost been a month, but I'm kind of excited to hop back in and say, all right, how do I problem solve this and get it figured out to a point where, again, shoot it out there. And if people use it, awesome. And if they don't, it might be something I use internally for myself. And again, I think that conversation with Pete really helped kind of revitalize some of that energy to go ahead and do that.
That's cool.
Yeah, man. Well, what's up with you though? Fill me in on yourself. Fill me in on all your stuff.
Okay, real quick. I want to say, going back to the 9/11 thing. One of the most craziest YouTube videos I've ever seen is the guy that pulled the trigger, Rob O'Neill, killed Bin Laden, when he tells the story front to back on the Opie and Anthony show. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. So
it is nuts. It is so, and he's just like, yeah, we crashed, and I won't. The plan was to squeeze them in the middle, right? Guys go on top, and then floor level, and then they're going to squeeze them in the middle. And
I saw the documentary for it on Netflix or something. Did they have one? And I think it pretty much told the story, so that was kind of telling.
That one's really good, but that just reminded me that 9/11 memorial. But yeah, he tells a story like, and then we're at the staircase with his son Khalid, and it's what, like, you get kind of goosebumps, and then, like, when he tells the story and he walks in the room and he's just standing like right there. Like, it's wild, it's man. Nuts. Yeah, such a cool video though. Such a cool interview. Very raw. Anyway, okay, so I keep a little notepad because I have such a crazy. By the way, I want to preface this by saying this is the last day of my 30s.
Wait, what? I didn't even know this. Wait, tomorrow is the big 4-0?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Well, maybe I kind of feel like it. I took a nap today, about a 20-minute.
Oh, yeah. You're 39 when you're taking naps midday.
Oh, yeah. The past couple of years, man, the insomnia. Yeah, big 4-0s tomorrow. Do I feel like just from playing hockey for so long, I feel like I'm like 60s. My hips are kind of shot. Plus, I ran into that tree a couple of weeks ago. So, like, my shoulders hurt, my ribs hurt. I'm just getting old. Okay, what's...
Awesome. Happy birthday. Happy early birthday to you. I hope are you doing anything like fun? Or like you and your girlfriend going out like to do anything?
I'm allergic to fun, dude. I don't know what fun is. Right. So we're going to I have a favorite restaurant around here in the Denver area. We'll get together with some friends, and I mean, man, I have like 2 beers and I'm like banged up in the morning.
Oh, dude, I have like 2. So Sunday, the Oktoberfest, I had 2, and it's like I didn't even get like the big steins they have now. I'm like, no, just give me a regular like beer, please. I'm okay. And I had 2, and I was like, I told my wife, I'm like, I'm ready to go home. I'm good. That's all I need. So
taking a nap. Yeah. By the way, a story for another day. One of the most hammered times of my entire life was Oktoberfest. I had 3 of those steins, those big boys.
Heck yeah.
And then I had to go to work the next day. I worked at a hockey store at the time.
True.
Yeah, that was not good. Okay, anyway. Okay, what have I been up to? I've got a little list here on my phone. Yeah, Trestle's closed. The downhill bike park is closed. I'm sad about that. I found out the hard way. I buzzed up there. It would close on a Sunday. I think I buzzed up there on like a Thursday or Friday. I'm in the parking lot. When I say buzzed up there, I drove up the mountains to Winter Park. It's about an hour and a half drive. It took about 2 hours because of construction. I'm in the parking lot. There's nobody there. And I'm thinking it's just because it's just the end of the season. Nobody, like, I'm all geared up too. I got all my downhill gear on. And like, there's nobody in the parking lot. So there's nobody. I'm like, that's
Okay.
not good. Yeah.
Right.
I walk up, it's closed. I took like a 2 hour
Oh,
drive. So I drove 2 hours to get there, and I have to drive 2 hours to get back into Denver. Yeah, so I had poopy pants about that. But
so a simple Google search
well,
might have shown you that.
I checked Twitter and I didn't see any updates because they said they updated. And then I texted a buddy. I was like, "Yo, don't go to Trestle today." He's like, "Yeah, dude, it was on their Instagram." Oh my god! Like,
Prime marketing opportunity, man, to tell them their X isn't up to date.
oh my
Got to get
gosh.
somebody on that.
Yeah, dude, I had poopy pants for like 3 days about that. Yes, so the last lap I did was when I hit the tree.
That's the way to end the
Okay.
season, man.
Yeah, that's the
Good way to
last
end
lap
it.
of the season. Luckily, I didn't get stabbed by that log. Yeah, I saw a bear on the trail. That was on the last trip. Have you seen Claude's commercial?
I
But
did. I did. I saw theirs, and I think Chat has one too, don't they? I think they
I
both.
haven't seen that. I saw. I was watching college football. And I was like, another Claude commercial. That's badass. That's cool.
There was one for Chat. So Chat has one, maybe unless it was Claude. And somebody calls it Claude. I forget who calls it that. We're
Maybe a
watching some YouTubes, but
French Canadian, like a Greg Eisenberg, Claude.
Greg Eisenberg calls it Claude. That's who it is.
Oh
He's
yeah.
like, it's
Oh,
Claude.
he's from Montreal, I think.
Oh, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So
And
it's
every
like,
time I hear it,
yeah,
I cringe a little bit. I'm like, no, please don't do that.
yeah,
But anyway, no, I saw it yesterday in chat. It's cool, I get it, but I think they're trying to make it more for like the everyday Joe at this point. Which, listen,
yeah.
everybody I talk to is using it. I mean, like my dad's using it at this point, and he's 71 years old, and he's like, all right, if I want to know what teams are best to pick for my football pick'ems, I'll go on ChatGPT and
Really? Okay.
yeah. It's like, and
Yeah.
he's using it smart. I get it, but I think ChatGPT's was basically showing someone working out in like a park with not a lot of like workout equipment, right? So having to be inventive and things you can do. And then you see this whole rundown that looks like a ChatGPT response, and it's just this
That's
long-winded
cool.
workout. And it's like, hey, it's more so like ChatGPT for the everyday, not just for the work life or coding or this or that. So I thought it was cool. I get it. The Claude one I think I saw also, and I think they did something pretty similar. If I'm not incorrect in saying that, I just forget the commercial exactly. So
I can't remember, but I remember thinking like, "Whoa, the Claude commercial. That's badass."
it's at that point, man. It's at that point.
Yeah,
It's like it's the everyday use. So
I remember because I've been in Bitcoin since like 2011, maybe late 2010, and I saw a Coinbase commercial in like 2021. I about fell out of my chair. I was like, "Holy!" Like
that's crazy.
finally, like the adoption, and I'm not the crazy Bitcoin guy anymore. Okay, yeah, no more Trestle. Oh, I was so pissed about. Oh my god, I was so mad about
What are you
that.
gonna do? There's other trails, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
there's another bike park. It's actually halfway. So like Denver's here, Trestle's up in the mountains. There's one that's like halfway, and it's called Idaho Springs. There's a new one. I like to go there like tomorrow or next couple of days. I've heard really good things. But here's the thing: like you have to pedal, and I'm not. I don't like to.
you're not
I'm too
about the
high.
pedaling.
No, I'm not about the pedaling. That's why I asked. Like, if I have to pedal, there's got to be like a steam room there or something like a dry sauna. I can relax. I'm just not about that life.
You're 40
Yeah,
now, man. You can't do that.
yeah, dude, I can't. I got to be tugged. I got to like tugged like a rope in a car, and they just tug you up the road. Yeah, I'm not about that. One cool thing I did. Also, I finished Black Rabbit.
Great
Uh,
show.
that show
Great
is bananas. And spoilers coming in 3, 2, 1. Here's a spoiler. I thought he was going to gas that dude at the very end. I thought he was going to pull, like, the gun was pointing in the back of his head. I thought he was going to pull some sleight of hand and just gas him. But
Oh, the mob boss guy, the
yeah, I
sign
thought he was
language
just
guy.
going to, yeah, I thought he was going to whack him. Like, he was going to pull something slick and just gas him.
I have my theories there. I
close.
think it's just after so much loss, how can you think it just kind of is what it is at that point?
Yeah. Do the music in that and like how dark and like the setting. That's a really, really good show.
It was. It was.
I finished that, and I went to a string quartet over the weekend on Saturday night, and there was four
Classy.
members, and they played Hans Zimmer songs. They played
That is
Time
great.
from Inception. They played the Batman theme, which is a banger. They played Dune, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dunkirk, Pacific, Madagascar, Lion King, Gladiator Suite, and Interstellar. So we were there for
That's
about an hour, which
awesome.
is pretty cool. And it was like there was only 4 people on stage in this really, really old church, this giant organs like behind him, like 25-foot tall, like organs, and there's just candles everywhere. And of course, they dim the lights. And there's
Yeah,
four
yeah.
people just jamming out and playing the Dark Knight song, with like violins and dude, it was really cool actually. It was really badass.
It sounds awesome. I gotta convince my wife to go. I'm gonna tell her that I'll say
It's so
string
cool.
quartet, and she'll be like, absolutely. And then when I tell her what it's
Yeah,
for, she'll
Batman
be like,
theme.
right, she'll be like, no. She'll be like, absolutely. She'll be like, go with a buddy. Like, I don't want to
Yeah,
go to that.
go by
But that
yourself.
sounds pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. So there's one this Friday, and it's like '90s banger. So it's like Foo Fighters, Metallica.
Oh,
It,
that's
it
so
was
cool.
it was funny. They got done a little early. The show over the weekend, they got done like 5 minutes early. And they're like, "Yeah, do you have any requests?" The one guy yelled, "Enter Sandman," and everybody started laughing. I was like, "Yes, do it, do it, do it."
That's awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that was my weekend. Upcoming this Friday is another string quartet, but again, '90s bangers. That'll be good. And I'll be 40 years old. I'm
Big
not looking
four
forward to that.
oh, buddy.
Yeah. All right, we're sitting down virtually, of course, with Pete McPherson. Welcome to the show, Pete. Why don't you tell us who you are and what you've done in the AI space?
Yeah. Thank you, Charlie. And I'm actually standing right now, to be fair.
Ah,
So
okay.
there's no sitting down with it all. So yeah, I'm Pete McPherson. I have been a full-time entrepreneur for about 8 years, 8.5 at this point. I used to be an accountant, and I've done it all, as you yourself know, being from a content and SEO and agency background. I've done blogs and podcasts and YouTube channels and ecom businesses over the decades. And just recently, the past, let's say about 3 years, maybe even a little bit more, I've been into this whole coding with AI, vibe coding space before people actually called it that. And I've done about a dozen projects that have been public. I've done several more that I literally just built for myself. I've sold 2 of those. I've gotten about 4 more to revenue and over anywhere from 100 to 1,000 monthly users, and kind of all over the place. Got a lot going on, but excited to talk about it.
The ever moving mind of an entrepreneur. Sounds like.
It's a blessing and a curse. It really
Yeah,
is.
absolutely is. Absolutely is.
Yeah, speaking of that, I literally took a nap for like 30 minutes before we hopped on, like no joke, because I got like 4 hours of sleep last night because my brain like doesn't shut off. So
Oh man. Yeah.
totally get that. So your background before AI, you were blogging, correct?
Yeah, I did that for, well, right up until I couldn't anymore because of algorithm changes and
AI.
sites crashing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. So can you walk us out like how you got into AI? Like what was the aha moment? You're like, I'm gonna do that. That's for me.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I got really lucky. I'll just be the first to tell you that. So I had one specific brand. It was a blog, podcast, YouTube channel. It's called Do You Even Blog? Still
Mhm.
around, still exists. It was my full-time thing for like 7 years. Great full-time revenue, supported me and my family. I enjoyed every second of it, right up until I didn't. And I was kind of burnt out, was kind of crashing out, wanting to do other things. This was in like 2021. And I decided to work on other content businesses at that point. I already had a couple of different projects. I had another podcast, I had another YouTube channel on mechanical keyboards. I had a fountain pen website, I had coffee, I had camping. Like I was like a media company, a small agency, but it was just me. And I did that for about half a year. And this was like right when ChatGPT dropped. I think it was like December 2022, if I'm remembering correctly. ChatGPT dropped.
Mhm.
I had been in AI before that. I was part of the GPT-2 beta, like a couple of years
no
ago.
way.
Okay.
Cool.
2018, 2019. I don't know. I had used some other AI tools over the years. They were good. They were great. I still got excited about them. ChatGPT dropped December 2022, changed all of us for good, probably. And I debated for about a month. Like, I think I need to pursue this new AI thing. It's leveled up. Everyone knew it, but I was thinking like, this is part of my brand, my business, who I am, what I want to talk about, what I want to help people with, what I want to do. But I had this media business, which was like, I already had the full annual plan. Like I'd written everything down on paper. I just had to like execute. It was like January. So it took me like 3 or 4 weeks of arguing with myself, but I decided to pivot. So I dropped everything, all the all the websites, the YouTube channels, everything, and
Wow.
I focused on AI first and foremost. And I think I don't know how I got into vibe coding. I want to say there was like a YouTube video, not somebody necessarily building a full on app or SaaS company or something. I don't remember what it was, to be honest, but it was just enough to pique my interest of like, hey, I've been dabbling in code for 15 years, mostly just HTML, CSS, WordPress, just
Hmm.
that sort of stuff over the years. Uh, Maybe I could go a little bit further now that ChatGPT is a thing. So I don't know how much you want to get into the weeds here, but the first project took me 3 months and it was awful. And I hated it and I doubted all my life's decisions. But at the end of the
Hmm.
3 months, I finally like had it deployed, publicly available. It worked. People could go use it. Wasn't anything super special. It's not great to this day.
Can we
But
ask what it was really
yeah,
quick, Pete?
sure.
What was the first
It was
one?
called Promptomizer, which is the dumbest name ever, but it's literally just, it was like my working title that I just ended up using.
Yeah.
And at the time, this isn't necessary anymore, but at the time, ChatGPT, it didn't have anywhere to like store your prompts. Custom prompts were the thing, or custom GPTs rather, and all this other stuff. So Promptomizer was literally just the API version of ChatGPT, but you could save your prompts and just deploy it to ChatGPT with one click.
Got
That's
it.
it. That's
Okay.
literally all the app was. It took me 3 months to build such a thing. I think I got like $200 a month in like revenue over the first like couple of weeks, just like promoting it to my existing audience. And I was hooked. My second project took 3 weeks, ended up making about 200 grand. My third project took like 3 days, ended up selling that business too about 18 months later. And since then I've just been addicted. Like all of
Wow. So did you? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the same thing, right? It's like I feel like once you get into it and you start, like you said, it's HTML, CSS. That's where I started with coding, and then you see one video on YouTube about vibe coding, you're like, wow, okay, if I know the basics or the foundation, the
Yeah.
possibilities are almost endless, right? And
Yeah, totally.
I mean, even your path, the way you explain it, it's like your first, build took 3 months, your second build takes 3 weeks, and then your third build takes 3 days. Is that just through iteration and just experience, or was that just because AI was also advancing simultaneously as you were building these new applications?
Yes and yes. Definitely both. That first one, there was no vibe coding anything on YouTube. There
Yeah.
was your typical people like I'll give this guy a shout out. Net Ninja. I don't know his real name, but Net
Hmm.
Ninja on YouTube has been around for like 8 years or something, and he has like 2,000 tutorial videos on his channel, and they're just like courses. Here's a course on Python. Here's a course on React. Here's a course on whatever. And I just chose a stack from one of his latest courses, and I
Hmm.
watched each video, and then I did my version. And I used ChatGPT at the time to like fill in the blanks. Cursor wasn't around. Claude Code didn't exist. In fact, Anthropic and Claude in general was just like a blip on the radar. So it was literally just like fine tuning. And thankfully, just a month or two after that is when we started to see VS Code and Copilot got way better,
Yeah.
right? And tools like Cursor are starting to come on the market over the next several months. That combined with the little knowledge that AI can't do, now it's getting better and better, and AI can do more and more. But at the time, it wouldn't deploy it, which is, it sounds stupid, but that took me like a week and a half right there. Like I had something on my machine running locally. The app worked. It was connected to a database. I thought I was done. And then it was like 72 hours of work later. I'm like, oh, okay.
Ooh.
I figured out how to actually deploy it to Vercel or whatever it was on.
Like, so you would have to take what you built, put it on like a middleware almost, and then deploy it so it would basically be live. You're
Oh
saying?
no, I just literally couldn't figure out how to upload it to my host. It was
Oh.
stuff like I had to add environment variables in Vercel,
Right.
which any
Gotcha.
developer just you just know. You would just go do that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it
You're like,
wasn't
why didn't
any
you
of
just
the
do that?
tutorial videos. And so I'm sitting there like banging my head against the wall, like, why isn't this working? And I'm trying to like copy and paste logs and be like, I don't know what this means. I don't know what this says. And so over the next couple of projects, stuff like that just never happened. right? And so I think once you get one or two things out of the way, one or two projects done and built and shipped, then it's that little extra 10% that AI didn't tell you to do, didn't do for you by default. And now I know that stuff.
Right. That makes total sense. Kind of having to go in and figure those out, those little small problems here or there, just to kind of get it to the end point. Cool. That's awesome. I love just kind of hearing the story again of kind of like where you started, and obviously where you are now is way beyond where you started. But even just those first few builds is just very interesting to me, and I think the listeners as well. That being said, it kind of transitions into a big thing for us is how do you validate some of these builds, right? Like, is it whether it's for your own use case, whether it's going to be for somebody else? Like, what does that process look
How
like?
do you find it, right?
Yeah, like, sure. You want to say it that way?
Well, there's 3 questions in there. Which to go first? I like this idea of validation. How about that?
Yeah.
I think there's 2 different people. There is somebody who's into this stuff, vibe coding or whatever, just because it kind of sounds interesting. Maybe they were techie already. Maybe they're a full-time developer getting more into AI. And maybe they just want to build fun projects, games, tools just for themselves. Maybe they can sell it, maybe not. The other person is somebody who actually comes from the creator entrepreneur background. I have an audience. I've been doing business for a while. This is monetization first and foremost. As very different answers to the validation question. And I want to say both of them because I think both are important for people to think through. For player A, that first person who's just kind of wants to dally, this sounds fun, they're techie, they want to try this stuff. I think the answer is build for yourself first and foremost. Try to build something you will actually use. Pete McPherson, I stink at focus. You haven't figured that out already. I get bored very easily, and I have a lot of ideas, and I want to pursue them. Part of what keeps me responsible for actually fixing bugs, shipping new features, updating what's there, sending out emails to the customers with, hey, look what we did, look what we changed, new features, or whatever. Part of what holds me to doing that stuff is actually building something that I use. If I had one app that I didn't use, I kind of built it, I knew what I was doing, but it's not something I use every day or even every week or every month. And sure enough, I was so bored and just did not want to work on it at all. I wasn't connected to it, not interesting, not exciting, that sort of stuff. So build for yourself. Build something that you will actually use, period. And the other answer, first of all, that's the answer for everybody. I think everybody should start with that at least. But another answer, if you're specifically doing this to make money, is to have an audience you can reach, which is way easier said than done, right? That's super hard. Again, I got lucky. I've been doing this for 8 years and I've cultivated not a huge audience. It's really not that big, but it's big enough. I've cultivated this audience of loyal people who know me. They've seen me through Do You Even Blog? They've watched my videos 5 years ago. They've listened to my podcast. They've opened my emails for 8 years. I have this solid core group of people that I can send to say, hey, I built this thing, sign up for it, or pay me money to use it. And sure enough, some of them really work. And that's great. And I got revenue coming in and it seems promising, etc. I also don't mind telling you, even in the past couple of months, I've built things like small MVPs along with a good landing page to kind of like, tell people what it is. I've launched those projects and made $0. Just no interest. And that right there is validation. That is, okay,
that's it.
Nope, not going to do that one. That's a terrible idea. So it's a long-winded answer, but.
No, that was super insightful. And Charlie, I know you want to hop in here, but I need to ask a question then too about, some of the small MVPs, right? These small builds, and your validation is simply just kind of rolling it out there and seeing what happens, right? With engagement, with whatever the objective is. Do you conscientiously say, okay, I need to make sure I only put X amount of time into this before deployment to make sure it's worthwhile? Or is it just, hey, I'm passionate about this. I have a feeling in my work. And if it just rolls down, it doesn't. It's, okay, no harm, no foul, on to the next one.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it depends on if I'm going to use it or not. The one I'm referring to, I'll just tell you what it was. It was called Six Fecta, as in like trifecta.
Yeah.
Six fecta is stupid. That one I already use, and I use every single month, but it's just a spreadsheet. And so my idea was, I think I could take the spreadsheet, and make it an app plus a little bit extra and make it a little bit better, and then other people can use it.
Mm-hmm.
So I built up like the tiniest little MVP and a landing page. And I think technically like 2 people signed up for it, but it was like very little. It was so much so that I'm like, okay, nope, not doing that. And I wasn't going to use it. I already have my spreadsheet. I was not going to use this new thing. And so spending any extra time, any extra energy, was just like a huge no. It's like, nope, not at all. I'm not spending a single second more on this. Whereas if it were something I was actually going to use, and I could already like, I could see myself using it, even if nobody else buys it or whatever, I think that's worth spending time on. Going back to your original question, though, specifically for validating an idea, how much time do you spend on it or whatnot? I think now more than ever, it's more important to actually build it for 2 reasons. Number one, the AI tools exist now where that's just easier and faster.
Mm-hmm.
Building an MVP of an app used to take months. Even 2 years ago, it used to take weeks, even for people who knew what they were doing. And now, I mean, it's a joke how quickly you can come up with an MVP for an idea. And so why not just go ahead and build out something that people could sign up for and use? But the other one is, the more you guys podcast and the more that I put out YouTube videos, the more people are building things, right? And so the vibe coding apps, vibe coding slop, as some naysayers might say, there's just going to be way more of that, more competition for everything across all industries, all niches, etc. So I think now more than ever, it's worth spending a tiny bit of time to build something people can use and see, and then try and launch it, see what happens.
Right? Yeah, no, awesome.
To put it out there, yeah. And speaking of like rapid prototyping and all the projects that you made, how has your workflow been different from day one to now and in between?
I think it's drastically different, and it changes quite often, partially because I'm also just a nerd and like to try out these different tools. So drastically different. I think the biggest turning point was Cursor for me personally.
Okay.
Cursor, Windsurf, or you want to use Copilot and VS Code. Like, I'm not into that argument. I really have just mostly only used Cursor. And I use Claude Code now a little bit. But when Cursor came out, it was this like aha moment of like, okay, cool. Now there's an actual AI agent baked into your code editor, your IDE or whatnot. And like, this changes how I work. This changes how quickly I can make updates and changes and fixes and new features and all this sort of stuff. Not exactly the answer to your question, but since that date, that was like a year and a half ago when I think I personally found Cursor or so. Since then, my workflow hasn't changed all that much, because that's like the do it all tool, right? And all of them now, you could just use Codex or just use Claude Code or whatever. But since then, it's just been really small tweaks to the workflow. Most everything is just like in the code editor right there. I never really leave it. I do everything there.
Just run it. Gotcha. What's your stack then? Like what's your go-to? Is it just that?
The tool stack, the AI tool stack?
Yeah.
It's funny when people say stack these days. You're either talking about the like framework or your like AI coding tools. I use the cheapest plan of Cursor, Claude Code, and Codex. Usually I only use 2 of those at any given point. Right now I have 3 just because I was making a couple of YouTube videos or whatnot. I've never hit any of the limits on any of those things. And I code a pretty good bit. Not like full time, not like 8 hours a day, but I've been shocked that I could just do the $20 a month plans on those. If I had to drop one right now, it would probably be Cursor. I would probably use the free version of Cursor or VS Code and have Claude Code, just the cheapest plan. And I already pay for ChatGPT anyways, just because I use that outside of work.
Yeah.
And so I have access to Codex right there in VS Code as well.
Gotcha.
That's it.
Gotcha. What are your thoughts right now as we record September 30th? As of yesterday, what are your thoughts on Sonnet 4.5?
Marginally better, maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not kidding, guys. Before we started recording, literally 5 minutes before we recorded, I hit publish on my like Claude Code 2.0 video. I wanted to like rush it out. I thought that'd be fun.
Yeah.
And so far, I think it's fine. I don't think a lot of people, new model drops. They see the little benchmark graph. You know what I mean? Like, this bar is like slightly higher than GPT-5 codecs, so whatever the previous thing was, and they're like, oh, new brain exploding emojis and that sort of stuff. It's probably marginally better, but I've been using the newest model each time one comes out for a while now, and so it just feels incremental. So I don't know. It does feel faster, I'll tell you that. That was very noticeable. They say it's faster, the Claude Code 2.0 and Sonnet 4.5, and that has been my experience. It's like twice as fast, which is really nice.
It'll take me a little bit to keep test driving it to see any big difference there as well, I think. Cool. All right. So we've kind of talked finding, validating ideas, the build, kind of what your process looks like there. I'm really interested in this because I just watched a video. I think you came out with it about a month ago, and it was about selling some of your businesses and selling them a little too early, and also just like price points and entries. So not so much about selling businesses, but pricing and kind of the monetization of things, right? Like I think it was what was it? Topical map, right? And you just had the entry point of it's like $39 and that's it. You're in for life, right? It's how do you decide how to price things? Like what's the engine behind that?
Yeah, I'm so bad at this. I should ask you guys this. I feel like I've made a lot of these mistakes over and over again when it comes to pricing, subscription models versus like one-time payments or whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a great answer because I want to tell people in order to maximize profits, revenue, period, start with a subscription model and start pricing it high and build something that will actually give people enough for that price point. Again, that's way easier said than done. That's just like the general advice you would read in any business book ever, for sure. Mm-hmm. Raise your prices and then build good product. Okay, well, that's technically my answer. But as somebody who also pays for things and somebody who has an audience, for that matter, part of me just wants to charge what it's actually worth. And if I think it's worth $9 a month, I will charge $9 a month. So I'll name drop another project I'm working on with a partner of mine. Her name's Liz. The product's called Liz Gadget. I'm not going to go into details, but Liz and myself both have this idea in common. Her product, she's a much bigger audience than I do. She was on Survivor, for God's sake.
Really?
She's like a celebrity. People stop her on the side of the street and say, hey, I know your name.
Oh, that's awesome.
Her audience is much larger than mine, and she really wants to keep her prices down. Her main product, that's a 7-figure business for sure, but it costs $9 a month, like her main thing. And I've always admired that about her. So when we launched this app that I vibe coded, by the way, we just stuck with $9, and it's not making a ton of money. It has hundreds of users, but it's only $9 a month. And quite frankly, like our conscience, we can't just go higher than that. Like I hate that, but that's what we decided to do. So the $39 thing specifically, that's an easy lesson. What Conor was referring to was when I vibe coded an app, I had an existing audience and I was like, I'm gonna do a lifetime deal, which by the way, it wasn't lifetime, which was a smart idea. I'll come back to that. I'm gonna do a one-time payment deal, $39, period. And then you just get access to 100 credits, which I'm so thankful I did because I ended up selling the app, thankfully, a couple of months ago. And it was nice for the new buyer to look at those people and say, okay, these aren't actual lifetime customers. I just gave them 100 credits, which might as well be lifetime for half of those people. But for the other half, they're not going to cost me tons of money down the road. So that was a good decision. But I'll never do that again. Just because there's not really any reason to. If you want to keep your costs down, if you want to do a special offer, you could still get people on the subscription model, but give them a couple of months free, or give them 50% off or 60% off. Like there's ways to steeply discount things without screwing yourself for the future. And if I had just launched $4 a month, I know that sounds stupid, but if I'd launched Topical Map AI for $4 a month, I would have kept those users for longer. I would have got more feedback from them, probably, because I think they would have used the app more than just like forgetting they signed up for this $39 thing.
Yeah,
right. And some of them might have stuck around for $39 a month or $59 a month. And I think I would have done a lot better. And by the way, that was like my best customers, right? They're the people that bought from the very first email from the very first MVP. If I could have had those people on board for longer, I would have done much better. So I'll never do a lifetime deal again. I start with subscriptions, even if it's like deeply discounted. And other than that, I just don't know if I'm very helpful. I'm
No,
not the
yeah,
right person
no.
to ask. I feel like I failed at this so many times.
Not really, because I think it's a listen, whether you call it a lesson to be taken away or just based on your experience, it's like, again, Charlie and I are building out our own app too. And one of the sticking points for us is like, well, how do you price this thing, right? And how do you do it best where it's a low enough, again, entry point to get people in, you get enough to validate the idea and make sure that there's some traction there. And I think that's something everybody goes through. So, I think it's a live and you learn type of thing.
Totally.
More so than anything else. That being said, when pricing out, future applications or anything you're building, is there anything in the back of your mind in terms of, okay, I want to make this a subscription model now because I know it's what works best? Or do you price it or set it up a certain way because at some point there might be acquisition and people who are acquiring it may be looking for a certain model?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, well, I'll tell you, I think I mentioned this in that video, but I'll say it again here on this recording. My number one takeaway from selling a company, the very first time I did it especially, was that most buyers, not all buyers, but most buyers, they look at that revenue graph and that is 99.99% of anything they care about. Like the literal line. When you see, like, I started from $100 a month and now we make $10,000 a month. What does that line look like, period? And if it's flat or going up, interest is tenfold. Interest is like, okay, it's $100 a month, it's $10,000 a month, but I see potential here. People are using the app and continuing to pay for it. And that right there is like 99.99% in my experience. So one of the huge mistakes I did with Topical Map AI was ignoring that. And the line started to trend downward because we stopped working on the app for almost a year. Stupid mistake, by the way. Never do that again. But that right there, over time, I saw people less and less interest. Even the people that asked about it, that was the number one things out of their mouth. Explain the revenue dip. That no one cared about literally anything else. Nothing else. That's what they cared about. So my takeaway for pricing and other stuff, I mentioned this app I'm doing with a friend of mine, Liz. I told her this up front. I was like, we're going to start, and our number one objective is to keep people around. Let's do $9 a month, but let's try to build something that people will not stop paying for. And we could talk about maybe how we're doing that if you really want to hear it. But my goal is for a buyer to come in a year from now or 6 months from now even and see this chart. Even if it's not making $1 million or bajillion dollars, that price multiple, I guess, is what I'm looking for here. Your sales price is going to be so much better and so much higher if you have that. So that's what we're doing.
Makes sense.
Okay. I think that's a good segue into this question. Talking of selling and acquisition, what advice do you have, can you provide for our builder listeners, viewers, communities on how to do that, on how to build from day one for acquisition?
Yeah. There's a few things. I think they're all, in retrospect, they're all pretty common sense. So this is just stuff I've read and I've heard. Build to sell from day one, just like you mentioned. I should have been doing that before. Now, what does that mean? It means a couple of things. First and foremost, keep good records. I didn't install Google Analytics for Topical Map AI until like 6 months in, which was just, I didn't have any data. I didn't have anything at all, period. And eventually I did, and that's great. And by the time we sold it, we had some data of what to show people, but buyers want to see that, obviously. Well, I mean, it's obvious to me now, but I didn't even think about it. Financials, I got a little lucky because I used to be an accountant and I had my CPA license and I worked in accounting for several years. So when it comes to like pulling revenue, expenses, and actually building an income statement, I can do that. It's just in a spreadsheet. It's not super fancy pants software, but when a buyer looks at that, they see everything broken down and I know what I'm doing. And it shows like there's a good spreadsheet there with finances. Here's another unobvious one. Create a separate email, specifically like Gmail or something like that. Like if you want to have your branded domain name, Conor at xyz.com, that's great. That's fine. But a buyer might change what they use for that, Google Workplace versus Proton Mail or something. It doesn't matter. It's nice to have a Gmail account where you log into everything.
Do you mean like a
For
For
backup?
example, no. I mean, like, I use a bunch of third-party tools. I use API tools like Anthropic, some AI APIs, OpenAI and Anthropic. I used there's Keyword Finder. That's not the right. Keywords Everywhere.
Okay.
Keywords Everywhere has an API
Mhm.
for Google search data, and I was like pulling data from that.
Mhm.
And I used Resend to send transactional
Yeah.
emails, and I had a Stripe account, and I had all this stuff, and they were all under my own personal login. So when it came time to transition
Oh,
everything,
okay. Yeah.
it was a pain in the rear.
Mess to untangle that.
Woo, yeah,
That was
but
the
that was
first
fun.
app. That was the first app. The second app, I had a Gmail account that was tied to literally everything. Instead of using my personal Anthropic account, I created another one with this Gmail. And so when it came time to transition, and by the way, this is a sales tactic too. Like before I even sold the thing, I showed people a Google Doc that was like, here's exactly the transition. As in, if you buy this company from me,
Oh,
here's what we do. Day one, we send you this and this and this and this. And apparently, I actually heard from one of my people at Empire Flippers. I heard
yeah,
later is like, no one does that. That's got to be like the most enticing thing for a
that's a good
buyer. Is
idea.
you're like, hey,
Yeah, that's badass.
this person knows what they're doing.
You would think
And
that's such a foundational thing. Almost, it
I don't
sounds
know.
it, right?
I
But,
definitely
yeah.
didn't do it the first
Yeah,
time.
it's like how much friction will be involved in this acquisition? Like how much headache do I
That's
have
it.
to endure? Right? Okay. Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a good one right there. SOPs, same sort of thing.
Mhm.
I had, I don't know, like 20 Loom videos, and I actually upgraded my Loom account for the AI summaries, and then it'll actually create the SOPs for you. They're not like absolutely perfect, but
Mhm.
they're kind of nice. So for this most recent one, I recorded like 20 Loom videos of, okay, here's how I manage affiliates. Here's how I pay out those affiliates. Here is how I'm using Resend for the welcome email. Here's how I'm doing this. Here's how I'm doing this, and that sort of thing. And I just had a massive Google Doc with like 130 pages of like Loom videos and SOPs. And it's a good selling point to
That's
like
pretty cool. Yeah.
show somebody, hey, I've got everything documented. All my ducks are in a row. Pay me money for things, and then this will be yours. And here's exactly what that looks like. And I think that's a huge selling point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
comprehensive and thorough.
Yeah. I think so. What it's also a huge signal too to potential
Yeah.
buyers that this guy has is this is set. It's like, okay, we don't have to worry about X, Y, and Z down the road too. That's pretty cool. So what okay, how does the actual acquisition process, like how does that process work? Like did they reach out to you? Do you go to Empire Flippers, or like how did that all break down?
I have used acquisition.com and I've used Empire Flippers. And the next one I do is actually going to be on Flippa, just because
Okay.
I met some people there and they seem really nice. So I think it's actually a lot easier than most people would imagine. I had never sold a company before that, and so I really had no idea what it looked like. And it's basically filling out some paperwork, put in your numbers, connect it to Stripe so it gets some revenue data. And I remember on acquisition, there's like a slider where you get to select the initial listing amount. They review everything, of course, but like how much could you make from this? And it was like 44,000 up to like 180,000 or something like that. And I was like dragging it down towards the bottom. I'm like, oh, I don't know if anybody's gonna buy
I thought
this.
you're gonna like max it out. Like
Yeah. And yeah, you just fill out the paperwork. Usually, oh yeah, I might be the wrong person. I've actually done this twice, but on both of those platforms, they review it. Somebody reaches out. On acquisition, I had a call with my guy. His name was Robbie. Really nice. And he talked me through it. And he had this like PowerPoint presentation of like, okay, here's what the process looks like. Here's how long it usually takes. Here's what we'll do. Here's what a buyer might do. And then they will eventually vet it, meaning they'll analyze the app, analyze the data, and stuff like that. It took like 2 days, I think, in both of those cases. And they're like, okay, here's the selling price that we suggest. And both of those brokers, I guess you call those brokerages.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of those brokerages, they gave me feedback. on the listing, like the description and that sort of stuff buyers might see. And then they listed it. And I think what's nice about a brokerage is they have built-in buyers, right? If you sign up for acquire.com right now as a buyer, you get like 10 emails a day. Like every time anything is listed, they send out an email, and then they send out a roundup email on Sundays, and they have personal connections that they'll like reach out to and find people. And then it's just a matter of like dealing with all those people that they bring in. Most everybody signs an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, to like actually see I think they have to sign that before they even see the name of your company and your revenue data and stuff like that. And then you chat with them. Like I literally had a copy and paste message that I sent every single person that signed the NDA. I was like, hey, I'm Pete. I'm the founder of Topical Map AI. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I also recorded these videos on the listing page that describe this, or blah, 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 blah. I sent that to like literally every single person in the platform in acquire.com or whatever. And then you have calls with people and then they buy. I mean, it sounds overly simple, but it wasn't. I guess it kind of was in retrospect.
Yeah, I mean, you make it sound straightforward, so that's a great thing, at least, you know, for everybody listening. And I guess the question I have too is when you go on these sites, you know, Flippa or Acquire or wherever, was the response to what you had kind of posted out there, was it quick? Did it take a lot of time? Like, you know, how fast do things move once you're on there?
Yeah. I was told both times, I think, that the average time it takes from like we just listed your company to the day it sells is like 3 months ish, 2 to 4 months. If it's $1 million plus project, probably a little bit longer. If it's a $20,000 project, it could go really fast. The first app I sold, again, I underpriced it quite a bit. That one sold within a week. It was just done.
Wow.
Like I had 2 calls with 2 different people, and the second person was like, all right, that's cool, I'm in. Done. The next one, Topical Map AI, it took 3.5 months. And I dropped the price periodically, like twice a month, because my revenue kept going down, just like normal churn, and we weren't working on the app, and people were asking like, hey, why is it the thing? And I had several calls with people, and they're like, quite frankly, we feel like the asking price is a little too high. And one thing I was not expecting, I feel like anything listed over 6 figures, like anything $100,000 plus, people are going to come at you with alternative structures. As in, instead of paying you this money, we'd like to pay you $15,000 up front, and then we'll pay you X percentage per month for 36 months, and then, you know, so on and so forth. Like I got a bunch of those. And quite frankly, I probably would have made more money if I'd accepted some of those, but I didn't really want that. I didn't want to be involved in this project at all. Like, I'm done with it. I haven't worked on it in a year. I don't want to work on it now.
Right.
I was waiting for a cash offer. And so it took 3.5 months to finally have somebody do that.
Sounds like,
and by the way, I had 2 in one day. 3.5 months. And then I had 2 offers in one day, which was
2 offers in the same day.
Infuriating, by the way. But,
sounds like some Shark Tank stuff going on there too, with like the percentage and everything else. But
yeah.
I know we're getting a little short on time. I think just, you know, hopping more over to like maybe some lessons and advice for the people who are listening out there, and even for us too, you know, for people listening, so they want to launch their first AI app. Like, what's the simplest playbook you could give somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience in this field?
Playbook. I was about to pull up my notes. I just wrote like a guest blog post for somebody, and I have this like all like written out. So, I'll tell you what, give me some more constraints. Are you talking about somebody who's literally never built anything at all, period, and this sounds fun and exciting? Or
let's call them like non-coders. Like they just don't have any experience like at all in the space.
Okay. I mean, I've just been really honest here. I would fire open YouTube, start watching a couple of videos as you build something. Start today. I hate to be that guy that gives that advice. Like, oh, don't wait. Don't procrastinate. That's not even what I'm saying. I went to a conference a couple of weeks ago in Portland with 2,500 other creators, and I heard from everybody. Well, first of all, AI was mentioned in every single talk, every single session, etc. And so I mentioned like vibe coding, and so many people were excited about this. They're like, oh yeah, I've been wanting to do this. Oh my God, I have this app idea for my audience. Oh yeah, I could totally see myself getting into this. But then without fail, 9 out of 10 people respond with something like this. I will not let myself do this yet because I know once I do, it's going to take my time because I'm into it. I'm interested. I'm excited. I want to do this, but I'm not going to let myself yet because I know it's going to take up my time, which was an infuriating answer to hear, by the way. So
Yeah,
my honest playbook is start building something, anything right now, today, little by little. Don't quit your day job and go full time into it. Don't even do half of that, right? Especially if you don't have a really specific idea. Steal somebody else's idea or just rebuild something that you already pay for just to get started. I'll give you one, Calendly, the calendar scheduling app that we used for this podcast.
Yeah.
Go build that. Build Calendly for yourself or do something just to start getting your feet wet. Because again, the 3 months I spent on my very first project, I was like, what is an IDE? What is a code editor? VS Code. I think I've heard of that before. No idea what that is. How do I open it? How do I see my files? How do I open the AI? How do I do this? How do I do that? I feel like getting a bunch of those out in little short bursts with little like get your feet wet type of projects today will make it so much easier when you're like, oh, I have an idea. This is the product I'm doing. This is the company I'm going to build. I'm going all in. I'm quitting my day job, or I'm spending a lot of time on this to vibe code this thing. You're going to do so much better, right? Instead of starting from absolute scratch. So I know it's a lame answer, but start today building something.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I mentioned YouTube earlier, go to YouTube. Or I could just tell people really, just use Cursor. Don't use Lovable. Don't start there. Just use Cursor or Windsurf and let that be it. Don't worry about Cloud Code yet. Don't worry about Codex yet. Plan features, let it code, test it, and then repeat, right? I can go deeper if you guys want, but I feel like that's
I think that's
good
perfect.
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, Pete, we're going to go and wrap up. Where can our audience find you?
So many places. I think I would self-promote my newsletter. I've been running a weekly-ish, sometimes it's every 2 weeks. It's not every day. A weekly newsletter for creators and entrepreneurs where I share some of the things I'm working on, cool articles I found, cool YouTube videos I found. 90% of it's online business related, creators and entrepreneurs, a lot of vibe coding stuff these days.
Okay.
And then 10% of it's just like tech tools I've found out for productivity or for life or fun or stuff like that. So they can find that at doyouevenblog.com, right at the homepage, doyouevenblog.com, and sign up for the newsletter. And then Code Playbook. That's my current YouTube channel. You can go watch vibe coding videos and whatnot.
Okay, awesome. Well, Pete, thanks for carving out the time. I appreciate it, and we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, Pete.
If we have anybody still listening, you will learn customer acquisition from Google Ads as Coach's Corner this week is focusing on.
They're all looking forward to this part. So just if you fast forwarded and made it here, we appreciate you guys a ton for sticking with us. But all right, so as we, I digress. Let's jump into this and go into Google Ads, and we'll try and make this comprehensive is probably the wrong word here. I'd like to probably try and keep this as simple as possible, so you can kind of build upon this, right? And there's tons of YouTube tutorials out there. This isn't, going to be the end all be all of it, but for our listeners, for those with AI apps, for those, who have been sticking with us, this is really going to show you an easy way to get your Google Ads account up and running, how to connect it, and then really just kind of the next steps in terms of the keywords and your campaign setup and hopefully driving traffic to your website. So I think first and foremost, a few things you should know, right? A few platforms is obviously Google Ads, and really simple. Ads.google.com is how you get there. Make sure you sign up for an account. Use your business email or whatever Gmail account that's going to be associated with your Google Analytics and your Google Tag Manager. The reason I say that is because it just makes it so much more seamless to connect those platforms together if you've opened everything up under one email address, right? Like you want to connect Google Tag Manager to Google Ads, you want to connect Google Ads to your Google Analytics. So again, open them all up under the same platform, and you can open up your Google Ads under ads.google.com. Your first few steps are going to be very basic, business-oriented information, billing, things like that. There's no need to go through that on our call, but once you're finished with all that, you're basically going to land on this dashboard or overview page right here, right? And before I even hop into any of this too, I do just want to preface it with, why do you need Google Ads, or why would people need Google Ads? And it's really as simple as this right here, right? This very simple diagram with the help of our friend Claude, whatever you want to refer to it as. I can't make it any easier. It's search, click, conversion. The reason you want to set up Google Ads is because Google Ads is basically going to be the most efficient platform in terms of grabbing the attention of people who are searching for a specific service or a product or something that you may be offering, right? Once they see that search ad, they end up clicking on it and they land on your landing page, on your website homepage, on the product description page, or PDPs, whatever it is that you set up. And ultimately, you lead them to the conversion, right? So whether that conversion's a form fill or a purchase or something else, it's a very, very simple funnel and way to think about it. So in my opinion, Google is one of the strongest platforms to be on for any type of product or any type of service. For the most part, depends on your niche and your market. But it's just really simple outline here of why you do it. And then the next thing after that too is, again, once you're on this overview page, you want to make sure that you're connecting your Google Ads to your Google Tag Manager. Otherwise, nothing is going to track on your website correctly, right? So we have episodes talking about, so if you don't set it up on Google Tag Manager, there's options to take the Google Ads code and just install it directly on your website if you want to do that. My recommendation, and the majority of marketers out there are going to say, set up a Google Tag Manager account and connect the two together and install Google Tag Manager on your website instead, because Tag Manager gives you the ability to add additional codes and snippets on your website from other platforms as you expand and make your marketing more robust across other platforms.
Got it.
So under here, Google Ads, I also have our Tag Manager account open. The website we're going to use here is going to be, Charlie, this is our kind of baby right now. It's Campaign Pilots, which very close to rolling out. We're super excited for it. So we're going to kind of use this as the use case today. Website looks awesome.
Look at that logo.
It looks dope. But anyway, Google Tag Manager has already been installed on the site. If you're not sure of how to do that, go back a few episodes. We have an episode specifically on how to install Google Tag Manager on your website, so you can always look at that there. But once you're in Tag Manager, you're basically going to make it very easy. You're going to go log in, go to tags. You're going to click new tag, and you'll label your tag something like Google Ads tag, or you can just name it Google Ads if you want. And then under your tag configuration, you're going to click that, and you'll click on Google Ads right here. It's really just all set up easily for you. And all you're going to do is click Google Tag right here. And then you're going to have to find your tag ID. So this is where some people may get lost. So finding your tag ID is pretty simple. Once you're in, you're going to hop back over to Google Ads. Once you're in Google Ads, you're going to go to Tools, and you're going to go to Data Manager. And this is your Google tag right here, right? Right now it's untitled because we just opened this account up, but we can relabel this whatever we want. For those of you out there, you can name your tag whatever you want, right? Maybe you have multiple tags for multiple websites. In this case, we only have the one, so we'll update this later on. But my Google tag, if I click in to this untitled tag here, this is my Google tag right here, where it says GT.
Oh, GT. Okay, yeah.
What stands for Google tag.
What's the other one? What's AW?
So this would just be your AdWords specific tag, and Google Ads has two tags. They have your AdWords specific one, or they have your Google tag. And if you are installing it through Google Tag Manager, they're going to want your Google tag here. If you're installing it or hard coding it, they may just ask for your AdWords ID here. So, or they're going to include that in the code, that you hard code into the header area of your website, the back end. But for this use case, let's do two things. Let's label the tag campaign pilots, and then let's copy this tag right here. We're going to go back to Google Tag Manager, and we're going to copy the whole thing in. I should have put this in before. It's got to be GT hyphen and then the tag ID here. You don't have to do anything with configuration settings, shared event settings. Leave all of that as it is, just, the default. And then your trigger is going to be on all pages because you want your Google tag to fire on every single page on your website, right? If you have exclusions where you're like, hey, I only want Google Ads to fire, and track events on specific pages, you can always go in here and add exclusions. You'll have to look up some tutorials, or we can cover that at another point in time. But for the sake of just moving along, all you'll do is hit save. You'll hit submit, and we'll call this Google Ads tag implementation as your version, just so you know that that's what was done in this step on Google Tag Manager. And it's pretty much as simple as that. If you want to verify that it's on the website, you could do something like Tag Assistant. And you can just Google this, and the first thing that'll show up is this Tag Assistant from Google. And you want to add your domain. So in this case, it's Campaign Pilots. It may take a minute or two for Google Ads to show up, but let's see. We go here. Yep, and it looks like our Google Ads tag is already firing on the page visit. So that's how you kind of validate that everything's working properly. The Google Ads tag is firing. So what you should start seeing once you run ads in the Google Ads account, of course, save everything. When you start running campaigns, you just want to make sure that you're seeing the reporting metrics like your clicks, your impressions, your average cost per click, and your cost all over here. So Charlie, you as an outside, again, I love having you on these, right? Because you're great when it comes to the SEO stuff. I know you have an understanding of Google Ads, but it's like, is anything unclear? There are things that don't make a ton of sense in terms of the initial setup.
Initial setup, yeah, it makes sense. Like, it's the first time I've ever seen this. So, okay, new campaign. So when you click new campaign, and that's where you choose your keywords, and then you're effectively bidding on those keywords. Is that right? Or
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Explain how that works and like how bidding works. And
Yep. I'm going to go through all that stuff. So just making sure the billing, the initial setup sounds okay.
Up to this point. So you've got Tag Manager. That makes sense. So Tag Manager is the container, right? And then Google Ads would be like a piece inside of that container. And then same with GA4. And then a pixel like Facebook or something.
Exactly. If you want to add Facebook later on, you always go back to Google Tag Manager and add it in because it's all within that container that's already included in your website code. So that's why we added Google Ads there. Okay. So let's move on to the next thing, right? It's like, so now you've got your tag installed, you're kind of ready to run your ads, you have an idea of what kinds of keywords they may be looking for, or maybe you don't, right? And I think before you even do keyword research, the other thing you have to ask yourself is, do you have a website or a landing page for them to go to, right? If you don't have that, it's going to be a little pointless to run Google Ads. So if you don't have your landing page built out yet or in a really good spot, don't even move forward with this step. Get your landing page squared away, get your website squared away. In this case, for us, for Campaign Pilots, our home page will be our landing page where we're going to bring users. So we're all set here. We also know that the action that we're driving the user towards is basically the Get Started button, which is where they would go and they would sign up for Campaign Pilots, right? So for anybody out there, if you don't have any specific action for somebody to take and you don't have a website or a landing page for them to go to, there's not going to really be much you can do with Google Ads at this point in time. That being said, let's go back to kind of some keywords and maybe some keyword validation. So what I would do before even setting up the campaign is do some really, really quick keyword research, right? If you go in this top bar here, which is basically Google Ads like help bar, type in keyword and you'll see this thing called Keyword Planner and you can click on that. And this helps you discover new keywords or get search volume and forecasts. And I'm a really Really big fan of get search volume and forecast because it kind of helps validate some of my assumptions on what people may be searching.
That's the answer, right? I mean, right there, it's coming from the platform that you're on.
100%. So you could either do,
Okay.
or if you need new keywords, what you can also do is discover new keywords. And for people who are really just starting out and don't have a lot of knowledge about Google Ads or keyword research or things like that, you could start with a website and just plug your website in and click get results. And what that's going to do is Google's going to give you basically a feed based on your website and crawling it of certain keywords.
Sorry, has it always done this?
Oh, yeah.
Am I like way behind?
That's why we have the episode, man. That's why we have it.
I guess I've just had my head in the sand with this. Yeah, okay.
So what it'll do is it gives you an output of all these keywords relative to your website. And this is, again, too, there's a few things here to just mention. One, you need the website. Two, you should really have your website dialed in, right? Don't start running ads when your website's 50% of the way done. Because if you're trying to... Go ahead, Charlie, you had a question?
Sorry, pardon me, I keep interrupting you, but isn't this partly like it scrapes your website, but is this assuming that your H1 is, you have your target keyword in your H1, and then your H2, you have like your keyword inventory of like secondary keywords on your H2s, and then like your about page, and then your product page.
Yes. Page
so these are ancillary AI data analysis. Yeah, I mean, this is spot on. I guess this goes back to what you said of like have some. I guess what I'm getting at is have some analysis done first, which you can do with Claude and Claude. You can have Claude and ChatGPT, and you can have certain keywords and content on your website already, and then you can run this as a backup. Or I guess it depends on intent.
It depends on intent. Again, my whole point being is definitely have your website dialed in from a content perspective, right? And listen, it will pick up on your H1s and H2s. That's where it's grabbing most of this from. But it also just scans the content in general. And these days, it's smart enough to collectively put all the content together and say, I have an understanding of what Campaign Pilots does. I know that it takes data, it deciphers it, and it analyzes it into an output to make marketers' lives easier, right? To make CMOs' lives easier, to make data analysis easier, right? So at the end of the day, it's really a data analysis tool that can be leveraged for marketing purposes, right? And that is exactly what Campaign Pilots is. So again, make sure your website's pretty dialed into what the objective is. If you're halfway through there, just take your time, focus on your landing page, finish that up first.
Got it.
So,
okay.
Based on what I put in here, right, and I would recommend this is probably the route to go, is let Google do some of the ideation for you. It'll come up with, this has 115 keywords. By no means should you use all 115 keywords for your campaigns. And the reason why is because you'll blow through your budget. Some of these keywords aren't relevant. Some have really, may have high competition, or they may be a really high cost to get on top of the page. So you want to be a little smart about what keywords you want to go after. So one, that your competition is low, the search volume is relatively high, and that you don't have to pay an arm and a leg to show up at the top of the page every time somebody searches the relative search term here, right? So, and just to explain this a little bit further, like data analysis tools, this has 100K to almost 1 million searches a month. The 3-month change is plus 900%. So this is we're in the market at the right time, at the right place for what people are searching. The competition is still relatively low, which I find surprising based on this, but it's low competition. And to show up on the top of the page, on top of search results for data analysis tools, to show up here for the #1 sponsored, which this is a Google ad by Zoho, you have to spend around $7.54 per impression or per click to show up in that very top spot.
Is it impression or click though?
They typically go by click. So
really,
yeah. So take this with a grain.
Wow. Okay.
Take it with a grain of salt, because also the other thing to mention too is this is your top of page bid low range. Your high range here is $55. So again, is it worth it for you to bid $54 to try and show up above a Zoho? For all of the builders out there, everybody, all the startups, all of the mid-size, do you have enough budget to really outbid Zoho each and every time on a search that's data analysis tools? My assumption is probably not, right? Like,
Okay. So when you say outbid, like what does that, and it says like top of page bid, high range, does that mean we have to pay, Campaign Pilots has to pay like $100 to guarantee that top
right.
spot?
You could set up a campaign, which I'll go through next quickly, and say, okay, if you set your campaign objective to, max clicks, and my maximum bid on a click is going to be $100. And say your daily spend is $500. You're saying, yeah, guys, if you can get me to be in the top spot for data analysis tools, I'm willing to spend up to $100 for each click. Like, that's my maximum bid. They're not saying they will spend that much. They're saying their average top of bid range is $54. If you spend $100 and you're willing to spend it on the click, you're almost guaranteeing that you're going to be in the top spot for that search query for as long as your budget's going to last, right? If you're only spending $500 a day and their range is anywhere from $7 to $53, you have the potential to show up anywhere from, maybe 15 times to maybe only, 8 times, right? Like, so, or more than that. 7 into 500 is what? Quick math here. I'm not a math genius. Do this on my calculator. You could show up maybe 60 times with a $7.54 if the bid range is low, or you could show up maybe 10 times if it's on the higher end of the spectrum.
Got it. Okay. And this really comes down to the keyword research too, then. Right?
Keyword research is important. Landing page experience is important, but then everything that follows is also important. Your ad copy, your campaign setup, all of that is integral to this. So again, to not stick on keywords too much, which I know we could sit here and just like kind of go through this. You have 115 available. My recommendation is start with 5 to 10 keywords that are tightly knit into a group. And this has to sound familiar, Charlie, because all this is doing is it's taking SEO tactics and you're putting money behind it to make sure you show up instead of doing it organically without being able to put dollars behind it. Correct. It's just a faster way to do SEO, but it's not SEO because it doesn't have the same impact or result.
Yeah.
So you want to find a tightly knit keyword group. So in this case, let's say we want to use, let's copy marketing data analytics. I don't even like that. I like marketing analysis tools. I like data analysis tools. I like data analysis AI is a good one. AI data analysis is a good one. Let's see. AI for data analysis tools, AI tools for data analysis. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7 good keywords with some more in there. And again, each of these has anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 searches a month, with a really big one in here, 100K to 1 million. And then this, I saw a 10K one in here, but maybe not. Enough search queries to warrant putting these 8 as the ones that we want to use, right? So what you want to do is copy these keywords, going into the whole plan and everything. I wouldn't do any of that. I would just copy the keywords, store them somewhere. I use Notepad all the time, so that's where I'm going to keep them for now on the side. That's your keyword analysis part, right? You've gone in, you validated that these have search volume, the change, how much money you might need to be competitive with that. Now, the next step after that is now let's go and build the actual campaign. So on the left side, let's go back to campaigns. Let's finally click this new campaign button and let's start building this out. So for us at Campaign Pilots, our whole goal is to get people to click this Get Started button, right? So we're not focused on sales in some capacity. We're really more focused on leads at this point too, because we're not really ready to roll out. So if we had a different form up, it might be leads, but they give you all of these different actions. Maybe it's app promotion, maybe it's local store visits, right? Again, for all the builders out there, you're probably either looking at sales, leads, website traffic, or maybe app promotion. If you're unsure, you're totally fine to create a campaign without a goals guidance. That's okay too. I do this probably 70% of the time for most of my clients, because there could be multiple goals to work towards also. Maybe there's some form fills, phone calls, downloads, right? So if you have multiple ones, you can create a campaign without guidance.
Okay. And those are tracked with Tag Manager, right?
Those are tracked through Tag Manager.
Phone call. Okay.
So we'll go to leads, and what it'll do is it wants to give you a step-by-step guide. I just say forget that. So leads, you're going to have a Google hosted and then a website lead. Again, when you set up your conversion tracking, which is, we've done this on another episode as well, so also go and check that out to set up conversion tracking. Those will all be set up properly, but you really just want to get this part done. Click continue. And then my recommendation from here is always go for search ads to start, right? Because the keyword research you just did all correlates to search ads right here. So for now, we'll do lead ads. We'll click search. And right now, we're really looking after website visits and the lead form submissions. Don't get fooled, because I almost did. The lead form submission means they'll create a lead form for you in Google and host it. That's not the same as having a lead form on your website. So you only probably want to go to website visits. So click website visits. Continue, and we'll call this lead acquisition pre-launch, right? Whatever we want to name the campaign. And now this gives you the options for bidding. What do you want to focus on? Conversions, conversion value, clicks, or impression share. Conversions or conversion value are typically big. Conversion value is if you actually have a product that has a dollar number associated with it. So e-commerce uses the conversion value a lot. Conversions in this case would be lead forms, people who go on the website and fill out leads. One thing I'll say is, as a marketer and in my experience, I always like to start with clicks. And the reason I start with clicks and not conversions is because I like to get more data in faster to Google. And if I focus and tell Google to optimize towards clicks and just get as much traffic to my website as possible, it doesn't mean I won't get any lead forms. It just means Google is going to create a wider net of people to try and get to click on my ad, because my focus is clicks and not necessarily the lowest hanging fruit or the lowest funnel group of users, right? So if I'm like Google, I really just want to get clicks and I want to get traffic to the website right now to validate that there's engagement and people are interested, and I want to see some conversions trickle in here and there, you could do clicks. This is where the set a maximum cost per click comes in. So again, if you want to show up and guarantee you show up for something like data analysis tools, which was that $55 cost per keyword, you could say my maximum bid is $55. I'm going to go just 30 cents above what the actual maximum is, right? That's a really, really high cost per click bid limit, by the way. Most people probably keep this clicked off. I think in this case, just because we're a little bit more advanced with it, we can do that. And then if you're only looking for new customers, you can click this as well. I typically forgo it when I'm creating a new account to start, right? You get into these more advanced strategies as you move forward and validate what you have on the table. So you click next. Two things I always remove. Never do Google Search Partners. Never do Google Display Network. They just tend to be a waste of time for me, especially with a search campaign, right? So for the type of campaign we want to run, Google Display Network, Google Search Partners, one, isn't people who search on Google, it's their search partners, right? So Google Search Partners, if they give you a list, I don't want to get into it too much, but it's not necessarily Google. It could be affiliates of Google, right? And search engines that aren't labeled as Google, but Google owns them, or Google owns the rights to the search queries and search results that come up for search queries that occur.
Got it. Okay.
Same thing with display network. So, you know, when you go on a web, like a news website, and you see all these banner ads all over the place for either websites you just visited or just for something that you may be interested in, that's typically Google's display network showing them to you. Maybe it's different for you, but for the thousands and thousands of display ads I've seen, I've maybe clicked on 2 in the last 5 years. So my opinion is it's clothing, like retargeting for clothing. So it's like if I was like really interested in like a nice sweater, and they got me. I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? Let me go back and finish the purchase because I probably didn't finish my purchase. But unless you
That's
have
what it is. Okay.
unless you have a lot of budget to just like spend, I just don't recommend it. If you get to a point where you're driving 30 conversions a day on search and you're making, a good return on investment, then maybe you want to allocate some towards the display network, because display, in my opinion, works really well as a retargeting method, and it works really well as just a branding and visibility method to just keep your name out there, right? So say somebody went to Campaign Pilots, but they didn't sign up. We could keep showing them ads for Campaign Pilots, and in my opinion, those serve as a reminder when someone's on another website and says, oh, that's right, Campaign Pilots, I forgot to finish signing up. Oh, that's right, Campaign Pilots, like that looked really cool. Let me go back and finish signing up so I can start getting my data analysis, right? That to me is way less pointed than being able to come up with a search ad and show it to somebody at the very top when they're looking up marketing analysis tools.
I'd rather do that.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's the whole explanation for these up here.
Got it. Okay.
Then you have your location. We'll just put United States for now. If you have a small budget, start small. Start in a very subset area or region of the U.S., right? If you only have $100 to spend in a month, which isn't a lot on Google, you might only want to spend it in Texas or Florida or New York or even just a city that you're around, right? Just to see if there's something there to validate it. But you can enter those location options, enter another location, and type in anything. Like if I want to type in my home in Astoria, it's like I could click include, and it'll do it by zip code, right? It also has Astoria right here, Long Island City. But again, for this case, we'll stick with United States. Language, straightforward, unless you're running multi-language ads. You're not, and then typically unless you're running outside of the country. No, this campaign doesn't have EU political ads. And no, I don't plan to use this account for that. Sometimes you just have some of those funky questions there. When it comes to audience segments, if you're doing keyword targeting, you don't need to do anything with audience segments. Again, more advanced strategies and things to layer in later on. And then your additional settings is you can set a start date, an end date. You can set days that you want your ads to run. So if you're like, hey, I know for Campaign Pilots that most people are only going to be looking for this Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., right?
Yeah.
Like we can say we only want it Monday through Fridays from, probably open it up a little earlier. We'll say 7:30 to, 8 p.m., right? And that leaves that, consolidation of this is when my ads run. I don't want you running over the weekends because CMOs, marketers, people just aren't working as much, so they just might not be searching for it, right? If it doesn't work as well, you always go back, optimize. Maybe you open the ad schedule up and go from there. And then any additional settings, page feeds, you won't use in campaign, URL options, you won't use either. Okay, so after that, you can click next. And again, of course, Google has its own AI, right? So you can use AI to power your performance on search. My opinion here is that Google is still a little behind on the Google Ads area, in the Google Ads sphere, of really nailing this and getting it right? Like, how do they use AI to power Google search? How well does it work? I haven't seen great results initially from it, so I tend to skip over this part and still have a lot of manual control over my ads. It is going to get to a point where the AI basically does all of the work for you. And you still need to have some knowledge and wherewithal of the platform, but in this case, I'm probably just going to skip over this. I don't have any interest in using the AI.
Okay. All right.
Skip this. Now we get to your ad group, right? So this is where you really start generating a lot of the campaign content itself. So we'll call this lead gen pre-launch as well. The final URL is where we're taking them to. And now we have the option to put in our keywords, right? So we'll just take all of the keywords that we focused on. We'll punch them all in right here. And now we have the opportunity to start really building our ads, right? Display path, you don't need to change. Your final URL is where the users will go. We're not using a lead form. And this is really where everything starts getting put together. It's your headlines and it's down in your descriptions. And Google will help come up with some of it for you. What I always recommend is to get your ad strength as high as possible. Is use as much from your keywords as you can in your headlines and in your description when you're putting things together. So,
and that's what people see in SERP. Okay, yeah. So on the right hand side is what they see. Okay, when they search like AI marketing analysis tool.
Yep, and they'll even show you, like, I know
Okay.
screen's probably small here, but like, for example, Campaign Pilots AI is our first headline. Our second headline is marketing analysis tool, right? Our third headline can be data analysis tool.
And can you test all of this as far as like what to put where? Like, would you put the brand name at the top, or would you put like the most valuable keyword? Because
really great question.
To me, like, I don't really care what it's called. I just want it to work, and I don't want to have to do anything.
So I typically try and max out the headlines. And what Google does is there is no, unless you want to pin it, right? And you can pin it to the first or the second or the third position. What I tend to do is I fill in all these headlines, and Google will randomly switch the order of them up and find the best combination for headline 1, headline 2, headline 3. And based on that, that's the ad it typically keeps serving to users over time. So if, let's just say, I haven't filled the rest of these out, but let's say these 3 are the headlines that work really well. A month from now, Google's just going to keep serving a headline, like the 3 ads that have Campaign Pilots AI, data analysis tool, marketing analysis tool as the 3 headlines, because that's the one that's gaining the most clicks or most conversions, right? So Google does a lot of that optimization in its algorithm for you. So I always recommend like maximizing your amount of headlines as best you can.
Okay.
So we'll do AI tool for data analysis. Like, what are some other good creative headlines we can do here? Data analysis made easy, like, might be a good one.
I think marketing analysis, that to me would be the biggest one, I think.
Okay, so we can do marketing analysis made easy.
Marketing analysis in seconds, maybe.
Never put a report together again. That's 3 too long. Compiling reports. You can do get actionable insights in seconds. Let's see. Actionable insights. Great. Let's see what else we can kind of squeeze in here. Let's see. Marketing report to the AI. Again, you can take your time. I know we're going through this. Again, I don't want to sit here and bore everybody just by thinking of headlines. So again, think of as many as you can. Typically, you'll see your ad strength go up. What it wants is more descriptive, more unique descriptions. So like these are good. Get marketing analysis in seconds with AI. Save time with automated reports, insights, and then,
what's that little G? Is that like an auto filler? Yeah.
No, that's just my Grammarly for when I absolutely annihilate emails that I write to people.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you have other options here, right? You can add your business name and logo, right? So you have to click access to get all that stuff. Again, we have to go through advertiser verification because we just opened the account. But typically adding your logo and your business name helps add some credibility to your ads. And then you have your site links. So where your site links are in an ad. Let's see if I can do data analysis tools and show you. We see any. No. Let's do this. I'll do men's letters. They're not going to show me any site links, are they? Okay, so I'll just do this. Google add site link examples, just so everyone can kind of visualize what this looks like. So these are site link examples, right? So this is somebody showing a dog food for your super pet. So anytime you see a Google ad that shows up with these sub menus or these sub drop downs, these are site links. And I use site links to get somebody to a page faster, right? So like a good site link for us would be pricing, features, and about. So if you have sub pages that you want to drive people to, like pricing or features or about, you'd add those in as site links. So my site link 1 is going to be pricing. The final URL is going to be the pricing URL.
Slash pricing. Yeah. I know right now it says like a page ID and it doesn't work.
That's all right.
It just hasn't been updated.
Features, and then we could do about. Right? You might want to put reviews on this at some point to help add some credibility, so on and so forth. But that's pretty much it. Like, as I say, as I'm talking through this for 40 minutes, but you'll click create, and what it's going to do is then create your site links. And then you have some additional asset types if you're running a promotion, right? If we want to run a 10% off your first month, you can add that in as a call out, and it shows up next to your ad in certain areas, right? Like you might have something like this, like use code 10 off for 10% off, right? Call outs kind of do something similar to this. Let's do call out examples. Call outs are a little smaller, and call outs don't typically link to anywhere. Call outs are just telling you, like, you could be like free first month. It could be no contract, no commitment required, things that just kind of help prompt the person to click through and go to the end. Okay, so we're in a decent spot. We're at average. We have our keywords. We have the site. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click save. And then you're going to click next. And then you'll set your budget. So if we want to spend $750 a month on this, our custom budget's going to be, $25 a day. And then you'll typically have to go through a confirmation process. I think I have to set up like a 2FA or something on here. So if we get stuck at this part, that's okay, because it basically gets the gist of what needs to be done. So after that's typically done, as you can see here, even on the left-hand side, I've created my ad groups. I've confirmed my budget. It's literally review. And once I confirm that, the campaign starts running. Right.
And you review everything you just did, basically.
I review everything I just did. And I'm like, yep, this looks great. And then I've done my setup, and it's kind of that now you flip, like the light switch is flipped on, and this is where you should start seeing traffic come in. Of course, following up, looking at it every other day, weekly, optimizing, adjusting keywords, looking at the traffic. These are all separate items to this. But again, this is like your very initial, let's get this set up, let's start driving traffic, and we'll take it from there. So if you can't get to this section, they're going to save it as a draft. But in a nutshell, long-winded nutshell, this is how you would set up your Google Ads. And again, there'll be plenty of episodes to cover how this is running, to follow up with optimization techniques, how you do the analytics, what we should be looking for, what you shouldn't be looking for, et cetera, and then how to actually leverage AI into some of this for more advanced strategies moving forward.
Okay. So I think keywords. So my takeaway from this, that was a lot easier than I thought. The fact that Google tells you, it told you similar domains, right? Similar websites.
It'll give you similar domains. It'll give you competitors if you're looking for it. Again, I tend to do my own keyword research instead of plugging my website in, because I'll typically have assumptions over what I think is going to work best, and I'll validate that in the keyword forecaster. So again, not to hop around too much, but if I go back to whatever, might have not even saved it. All that work. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Let's pause this too for now, so we get it dialed in. But I typically like to do my own keyword research. So back in this keyword planner, instead of discover new, I like to get search volume and forecast. And what I would do is something like marketing analysis tool or marketing analysis AI. And listen, it gave most of that already too. So it's smart and effective enough to know that. But like just those two as an example, I'll typically plug all that in, and it's going to give me very similar results anyway, right? We'll say this is what we're seeing from September 2024 to August 2025. Marketing analysis AI, marketing analysis tool, average monthly searches, year-over-year change, competition, and then what it takes to show up at the bottom of the page as opposed to the the low page range bid to the high page range bid.
Okay. With all this in mind, what do you think our next episode should be on?
Honestly, I think it's, we can continue on the Google thing if we'd like to. I think jumping into other setups, like I'd love to do a meta campaign setup and show these guys how easy that is. And again, I know this is a little long-winded, but there's a lot of
This
thought
is
that you
good.
can do to stop and
think-
get yourself set up for success. But Facebook Meta would be a really good platform to cover because those are your two real foundational ones, in my opinion.
That's it, huh? Okay. Yeah, Google Ads was way better. And the fact that they tell you similar domains and the keywords too, like that recent, like,
Yeah.
I
They
didn't
do as
know,
much hand holding as they can. And listen, I think there's a
to
method
get
as
you
to
spend
why.
money.
Exactly right. Like, listen, they're a business like anybody else, and
Yeah.
they want to maximize how much they can make. And not to digress too much here, but you'll sign up, you'll get a campaign going, everything will be great, and you'll get an outreach from a Google rep 2 weeks from now after the campaign set up, and let's say, you could do this, 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 and this to make the campaign better, and all four things consist of spending more money. So,
Sure.
they all have their motives behind it, right? Some of it's already baked in and automated. Some of it is done by a Google rep, which is outsourced, but it's a simple setup and something I implore anybody who's kind of ready to launch out there to test and navigate those waters to make sure that what they've set up and deployed is actually worthwhile pursuing on an ongoing basis.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So bottom line, have some foundation to your website ready, whether that's a sign up form for email, have some keyword researching content on there, and you can use Claude GPT-5.
Yep.
Yeah, and then just flip the light switch, Google Ads, and then next week we'll do Facebook ads.
Yeah. So I hope you guys found it helpful. I know, again, it's a earful, but it's comprehensive. It's easy.
Yeah. That's legit.
It's a really, really quick setup and a way to start getting some traffic over to your website.
Cool. All right. It's wow, it's that fast. Cool. I love how they basically do it for you. That's bananas.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff. Cool. Yeah, I think that'll wrap up this episode 19. So we'll be back next week, episode 20, when I turn, and I will be 41, the AI Code Central podcast, and we'll cover Facebook ads. Until then, peace.
Later, guys.